interesting, and they'll probably talk about that in a bit. But I want to focus a little bit on the traditional communication vehicle, which is your call center. As I mentioned earlier, many customers say they want the smart grid, and according to the recent EEI poll, 68% of those folks want the utilities to move forward on the smart meters. Now, I actually thought that that was a low number. I was disappointed. I was thinking more people should be saying, let's go forward with this smart meter. So to me, that was low. But that 68%, we need to capture that, because the key is translating that simple desire to an understanding of the value that they're going to receive. And without that translation, we've witnessed some of the pushbacks that we've read so much about in California and other locations. So to address this need, one of the things that we're witnessing with a number of the call centers that we support is the emergence of the energy consultant. Now, these are elite CSR agents that are schooled in demand response and conservation programs. They own the customer interactions that turn every call into an educational and sales opportunity. So they're very focused on it. These are people savvy and motivated to discuss the complicated billing methods and ways to conserve water and energy. The broader role of these consultants is that they're also proactive. They're proactively calling consumers. They're reaching out to them, not just inbound, to further address the concerns, to gain participation in targeted energy efficiency programs, and obtain valuable feedback to the utility. Recognizing that this is not a tweak of the call center, but it's a new job type in the utility is critical to the utilities. The reason why that is because these are new people. They're typically higher skilled people, but most importantly, the way we manage those people is different, the way we manage success. Traditional utility call centers, you're worried about the length of time that they're on the call. These people are output based. What we worry about is that consumer buying into the smart grid? Are we answering their questions? So we see this happening over and over across North America. The second major trend that we've seen in the last 18 months that we're witnessing is a changing investment behavior for IT systems in what we call the CIS ecosystem. Now, the conflict we're witnessing is an age-old conflict. It's the CIO who recognizes that their older systems are inadequate, yet the CFO says, I don't want to pay for that. So that's been with us for years and years. The difference now is that CFO just spent hundreds of millions of dollars on smart grid, smart meter, and now the CIO is saying, geez, I need a new system to replace our old and to address new tools, new systems in the future. The problem, there was a recent survey from 5 Point Partners that revealed that only 12% of the responding utility execs were confident that their current CIS is fully capable of handling dynamic pricing and time and use rates and the other complexities of the smart grid. Overall, 56% of the survey respondents said that the CIS will never be able to meet their need. So what are we seeing? What are we witnessing in the market? What's going on? Not surprisingly, about a third of the utilities that were interviewed said over the next 5 years they plan a traditional approach to the CIS, which is a lift and replace. Let's replace it with a new system, a new enterprise-wide, a new CIS system that can address those needs. A little bit more surprising is that a third of those folks interviewed said that over the next 5 years, they think that they're just going to go tweak their CIS. They're going to change their CIS to address those needs in the market. But the most surprising thing to both 5 Points and to us is that clearly over a third are intending to bypass that enterprise-wide solution. Instead, they're going to deploy a best-of-breed CIS ecosystem of products, such as billing and rating technology, that is external to the CIS, thus leveraging the CIS as the system of record. As someone described it, eventually that CIS might become the master Rolodex. So we expect this trend to continue, and this will include new marketing and new web-based tools and a whole host of CIS ecosystem tools. Some of these tools will have a shortened life cycle as a result of the smart grid's demands, but with the flexibility offered by service-oriented architecture, new technologies, new middleware, varying functions can be switched in and out of the utility as it needs be. Now, this evolution will require more than just improved call centers and the supporting IT. There's a lot of questions being asked now from the consumers about the utility, about smart grid, about what's going on, and about the utility, about the consumers. So how do we attract the right customer mix to achieve the results that our regulators are expecting? we will need in-depth understanding of both internal and external customers so that we can score them on the likelihood of their participation in our programs and their ability to deliver the results we're seeking. So this brings me to the last point, which is what we've seen is a dramatic increase in work around customer segmentation and analytics. So just a few years ago, it wasn't uncommon for all of us in this room, if you talk to executives and you say, well, tell me about your segmentation, they go, well, we've done that. We've got 3. We've got industrial, commercial, and markets. I mean, that was common across our industry just 5 to 10 years ago. Of course, now we recognize that now we need to understand the who, what, when, where, and why they're going to buy our service. And that's what we're all trying to dig into. And in the last 18 months, we've seen across our client base of the 50 to 60 utilities we work with, a 5x increase in the use of advanced analytics to understand every aspect of that consumer, and whether that's about aspects of debt, of how they buy, will they participate in energy efficiency, or certainly if you in a retail organization, how we get that consumer, what consumers do we want to go to? So these are the questions that the utilities are asking. So once we've identified the target, how do you reach it in a cost-effective manner? There's a lot of discussion, and you hear it on panels everywhere, about the multi-channel, a lot of different ways through the web to access Generation X, Generation Y. But all of these things have costs. They have costs, real economic costs, they have people costs. And people are using the analytics now to say, okay, what is the right balance? And I need to continue to tweak that every 6 months. And what's the most effective way and a cost-effective way to service my territory? And what we found in some of our larger utilities that we service is that they're using different medium, different ways in different parts of their service territory, rural versus the large cities. So one utility, for example, has traditionally been allowed by the PUC to disconnect up to 2% of their population for non-payment. So what they're now trying to use advanced analytics for is, what's the right 2%? I don't want to just do a FIFO, first in, first out of 2% disconnects, because I don't want to go after that doctor who's on an extended vacation in Europe. He's probably going to pay when he gets back. So that's how people are using these advanced analytics. And this growth, just 18 months ago, from next to nothing to it's dramatic. Almost every utility now is thinking about, not only do I got a contract for some analytics, do I need to set up my own department, and how am I going to do that into the future? So in conclusion, it's evident that this is an unparalleled era in the history of our industry. In a way, it kind of reminds me, the smart grid, of the sea change that we had with the REA electrification back in the 30s in rural America. We in the utility industry have an obligation to ensure that the smart grid brings the same level of rewards and benefits as that historic project. It's our obligation. We have the knowledge, we certainly have the experience, we have the technology, we have the services, but we need to reach out, we need to make sure that that connection is made. So at this conference, you're going to hear an awful lot about numerous examples of how utilities are making that happen, and hopefully that you'll find it to be valuable, and you'll have your teaching moment come out of it too. So that's all I wanted to say, and I appreciate it. Now let me, I have the honor and privilege of introducing our keynote speakers from Encore. They're good friends of ours, good friends of mine. As I mentioned earlier, Encore is the largest T&D company here in Texas. They have 117,000 miles of T&D of lines. They have, by 2012, they will have deployed 3 million meters across, smart meters across residential and commercial. Two of the members of the executive team are here to share their insights. The presentation is called The Smart Grid at Encore, Challenges and Opportunities from the Operational and Customer Perspective. So let me introduce. Brenda Jackson is the Chief Customer Officer for Encore, and I will mention this. Prior to that, she's a Senior Vice President. She was Senior Vice President of Operations. But this is something that we do see, the idea of recognizing that the utility, that we need Chief Customer Officers. That's our Achilles heel, is that if we don't address that relationship with our consumers, we're at risk. And so I think Brenda will probably talk about why Encore chose her and chose the path that they're on. She's been with Encore and the predecessors of Encore for about 35 years. Sitting with her is Jim Greer, who's the Senior Vice President of Asset Management and Engineering for Encore. He's an electrical engineer by trade. He joined TXU in '84 and has numerous awards, including Engineer of the Year. He's very proud of his van. No, I'm not going to say the van, but the display vehicle out in the back. So let me please join me in welcoming Brenda and Jim Greer.
Good morning, everybody, and I'm really not that touchy about our Mobile Experience Center, although it's not a trailer, it's not an 18-wheeler, but it is a mobile classroom, mobile experience center, and hopefully you'll have a chance to go out, I think, to the west, Brenda, and take a look at that later. But first and foremost, let me add my welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here. Welcome to Dallas. Welcome to Texas. It is an honor and pleasure to have you here, and certainly we're very privileged to be a part of this here in Dallas at Encore. See if I can get this to work correctly here. Just some of the topics that Brenda and I like to cover. I did want to start with just kind of an overview of Encore, and hopefully that will provide some context to the comments that Brenda and I will be making. Then, as Dan alluded to, I'm going to talk about more kind of the operational or the technical aspects of our smart metering rollout, and then Brenda's going to touch on some of the consumer or customer-facing topics around our smart meter rollout. As Dan mentioned, we are the largest T&D company here in Texas, and specifically within the Texas market. As Christine mentioned, this is a deregulated competitive market in the ERCOT market, which serves about 75% of the load here in Texas. Encore's role is really just a delivery company. So we are essentially the FedEx of the electric market here in Texas. There are some 150 different generators that are selling into the market. Last count, Christine, I think there were 120 or so different retailers that were established in the market. There's some 80 to 100 that are active in the Encore market. And again, we are essentially a common carrier. So we don't care who's generating it and who you're buying your electricity from. Our job is to make sure it gets there reliably and safely. We serve about a third of the state of Texas. We serve about from the Red River down to Austin, Deep East Texas, all the way out to the Midland Odessa oil fields, so a very diverse area. While we're based here in Dallas, we're very proud to serve about 400 communities across the state. We have about 3,700 employees and serve about 1.3 million homes and businesses. So turning to the smart meter rollout here in Texas, here at Encore, Christine mentioned some of the requirements of the smart meter here in Texas, and I think the Commission did a great job of really setting the bar very high about what they expected out of a smart metering system. Each of the residential meters, actually all the meters up to 200 amps, have to have a remote disconnect and reconnect switch. Each meter has to be capable of providing 15-minute interval data. They must also be able to communicate with a home area network or be a part of a home area network. This would allow all the retailers to provide, to be able to communicate with their customers, provide pricing signals, perform demand response. So Encore is really providing the technology platform that all the retailers in the market will use in an open and non-competitive way. Christine mentioned the common web portal. I think Brenda will talk more about that. Not only is that a way for consumers to have access to their usage data from a technology standpoint, this provides the common interface for all the retailers who want to transact business with their customers. So they don't have to figure out if that's Encore's area and I have to hit their portal, or where that's Centerpoint down in Houston. There's one common technology platform where all the transactions flow through. Yet from a functionality standpoint, the Commission required that the system support prepay and time of use and a few other functions which I'll mention here in a little bit. So how did we get here? Let me back up a little bit. We had an interesting road to get to our smart meter deployment. Really starting in 2005, the Texas legislature passed what I think is some fairly unique legislation that really supported the advancement of smart metering, the advanced rollout of